and obviously went on to wrestle Chris Jericho, a guy I looked up to a lot, and he's one of the reasons why I got into the business. So it's a lot of pressure, man. It was a lot of pressure.
That was your debut match on television, correct?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. Talk to me about your first WrestleMania.
Yeah, so it's just weird, man, because my whole career was like, he's a good worker, just no personality, no character. So I guess the best analogy would be someone like Norman Smiley, who was always just a good. I wouldn't compare my wrestling abilities to Norman, but you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Just a good wrestler, but he made all his notoriety and made a lot of money just doing the big wiggle bullshit and the hardcore stuff in WCW. If you think of Norman, the average fan, that's what they think of. So Vince is like, I have a whole card full of really good matches tonight. He's like, I don't want you to wrestle. You're not a wrestler. You're a ballroom dancer. So it was really hard for me because I kind of just always relied on my wrestling ability, and he didn't want that. He wanted me to be a dancer. So Chris wanted to go out and prove everybody wrong because it was such a crazy character, but Vince didn't want like a really good match. He wanted the biggest upset in WrestleMania history. That's what he wanted. And it's hard not to go out there and aim for a good match. But I think we had too much time. If he wanted a big upset, I think we needed a shorter segment, TJ Wilson, like you were talking about before, actually had he was with us when we put that match together because Chris wanted him there because everyone really appreciates his mind for the business, and he's one of the best. It's hard because you and I could call a wrestling match, and Chris and I could easily put together a good match, but you're wrestling a ballroom dancer, so how would a ballroom dancer put this match together or fight, so it's just really foreign to me. I felt really uncomfortable. I was more nervous, Ace, about remembering my dance routine on stage. Like that shit it was so foreign to me, you know what I'm saying? And then in the match, it wasn't like he didn't really want a wrestling match. He wanted just a brawl, hit a couple wrestling moves and then a leg drop and then a fuck finish, so it was kind of it was definitely a challenge.
It's not like you're gonna say, hey Vince, you know what, I think we need 5 less minutes tonight at WrestleMania either, what I mean? That's nothing you're gonna say. How was Chris during all this though? Was he good?
He was fine. Yeah, I mean, obviously, man, he wasn't put yourself in his shoes, as a future Hall of Famer and a legend. I think he was supposed to work Ryback going into that, and then Vince came up with this character and kind of switched it a few weeks out. I think we had 5 or 6 weeks to build this match, maybe even less than that. So I mean, put yourself in Chris's shoes. He didn't know me that well, and Vince goes, "All right, you got 4 or 5 weeks. This is a ballroom dancer you're gonna have to put over at WrestleMania." I could see his trepidation, but me being older now, that's kind of a compliment when the old man asks you a fucking ego aside. That's a really hard task to pull off. So obviously he knew Chris was talented enough to pull that shit off. And I don't know, besides Cena or maybe Edge or the names, but you needed to be in there with someone like Chris to pull that off. If it was a kid my age that didn't have as much equity as Chris, it probably wouldn't have worked. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So I mean, I know it probably hurt Chris's ego a little bit, but I mean, if 10 years later, in retrospect, if you look back, Vince obviously trusted him to do a really fucking hard thing. You know what I'm saying? Which was build a 4 or 5 week program with an evil ballroom dancer. So I know Chris probably wasn't too happy about it, but I mean, it's kind of a vote of faith, in his ability. So